I don't remember you raising me. And what's with this approach? To be blunt, this is kidnapping, isn't it? Don't say such terrible things." With that, Kelly slapped my cheek so hard it made a sound. Deep down, I think to myself, good, keep it going. Eventually, the taxi arrived at a somewhat dingy 3-story building. Surprised? I'm a CEO's wife and hit the jackpot. You guys still at the bottom, poor? That's why I thought I'd share some with you. So, she really is trying to use me. Eventually, Susan, who I consider my real mom, and my dad located me and came to my rescue, and I firmly declared, "No, she's my only mother. She has spent 3 times as many years by my side, providing a warm home than the time you claim to have raised me." "So what, you're saying you're happy living a poor life with this sick person?" When Kelly said that, my father laughed heartily, as if he found it truly amusing. "Hey Kelly, how about I introduce you to a family with a company worth $10 billion a year?" "Huh?" "My name is Meg Kirk. I'm 18 years old and about to start college this spring. Having successfully completed my entrance exams, I am now enjoying my days, finally free from studying for exams." "Hey, isn't it about time?" My dad, in an apron, calls out from the stairs leading to my room on the 2nd floor. "I know." I call back, raising my voice as well. That's because today is the day for college enrollment procedures. Since I decided to attend a college in the next state over, I have to attend a session about dorms and apartments offered by the school. "Maybe I should go with you? I'll be fine on my own." "Really?" My father looks a bit sad as he nods. "Your mom wanted to go too. She's got work, can't be helped." Yes, our family consists of 3 people. But what sets us apart from other families is that my mom earns the income while my dad stays at home as a homemaker. My dad is now 48 years old. Susan, who I consider my mom, is 40 years old, 8 years younger than that. And she and I are not related by blood. But to me, she's the only mother I have. I could never acknowledge as a mother the woman who left me and my sick dad when I was 3 to become some CEO's mistress. No way. My biological mother left us 15 years ago. Her name is Kelly. Just mentioning her as my mother makes my blood boil, so I always refer to her disrespectfully in my mind. However, I would never say such things in front of my dad. He's a kind man, and he'd surely be saddened if I spoke ill of my birth mother. I don't want to see my dad sad. I just want to keep seeing the gentle, smiling faces of Susan and me now. There were 2 reasons Kelly left us 15 years ago. One was my dad's illness. The other was an affair with the president of the company she was working part-time at. Back then, my dad couldn't confront Kelly about her affair. He didn't have the strength to do. His illness is fundamentally incurable. And back then, his symptoms were especially severe. When Kelly learned this, she yelled at my dad. "Incurable? So it's a terminal illness?" In a hospital room filled with beds, Kelly insensitively yelled such things, and even my dad, who's usually forgiving, couldn't help but feel disillusioned with her. That's why he easily signed the divorce papers she presented. I couldn't keep such a woman as my mother. Back then, I was taken care of by my paternal grandparents, who would hug me and cry, saying what a poor child I was. It wasn't until high school that I realized half of those tears were of frustration. Now, they live a comfortable life in a distant nursing home, but at that time, the atmosphere was always tense due to Kelly's actions and my dad's illness. My life changed dramatically when Susan and my dad met. My dad's illness wasn't immediately life-threatening, but he needed a long hospital stay at the time. Back then, he had to be constantly on 4 drips every day. Now, he's living a normal life, but at the time, he was always within 4 stand. It was then he met Susan, who was also hospitalized. My dad was 33 years old at the time. Susan was 25. Dad was managing to work remotely, a bit of work from the company, what we'd now call remote work. The company wanted to keep him on the payroll, probably because he was a valuable employee. But the outlook was bleak. That's when the two of them met. Susan was hospitalized due to physical and mental exhaustion from overwork. Going from a busy life to hospital life, she was living through gloomy days. As they got to know each other and shared their stories, they came to the conclusion that maybe they could make it through together. The finer details of that story are something they don't share with their daughter. Maybe it's not something they can tell me. But even for these two, getting married wasn't something that could happen immediately. Especially for Susan. It seems the people around her were welcoming of an early marriage. But the fact that her partner was 8 years her senior, divorced, and with a child, was something that wasn't easily understood by everyone. Susan has always been kind and strict with me from the beginning. She was affectionate but knew when to scold me. After being discharged, Susan would visit my dad between her busy work schedules. Over the years, she deepened her relationship with me, and after getting the approval of those around them, they were able to marry in their 5th year of meeting. And for the past 10 years, we have lived quietly and happily. And yet...
Meg, that's you, isn't it?
A stranger's voice stopped me as I was about to go get the dormitory information after getting my college paperwork. It was Kelly.
Hey, Meg, do you remember me? I'm your mom.
Kelly approached me with a sweet voice. Shocked, I start to run away, not recognizing her. And that's understandable. How am I supposed to react to a woman claiming to be my mother when I haven't seen her face since I was 3? Who are you?
Don't be so formal. I'm your mom, aren't I?
Come to think of it, she's the woman in the photos from the album. My grandmother used to complain to me while she was alive, wondering why that woman's photos were still around. It can't be helped. All my photos up to the age of 3 inevitably include her in close proximity. Dad must have kept her in the photos because he didn't want to throw away my pictures, enduring her presence somehow. Incidentally, I heard that kind reason from Susan's mouth. Unfortunately, I don't know you.
What? Are you angry? Angry that I didn't visit?
With a wry smile, Kelly slowly approached.
If I followed a stranger, my family would be upset.
Don't say such cold things, she said, trying to take my hand, so I hastily shook it off and went back home. When I opened the door to our apartment, I could hear humming. Dad was in the kitchen preparing a meal. Every day, he thinks about what Susan and I like to eat and cooks for us. But I wanted to get this conversation over with before Mom came back.
Dad!
I rushed into the kitchen.
Well, hi there, Meg. You look a bit pale. And you're back earlier than I thought. Yeah, sorry, the dorm stuff can wait.
I sat down at the kitchen dining table, took a glass of water from Dad, and then told him.
That woman was at the university. Which woman? That woman. The one who left us 15 years ago.
No way, Dad said, pulling up a chair next to me in surprise. You recognized her face, Meg?
I'd seen her in photos, and more importantly, she was desperately trying to get close to me.
That's troubling, Dad said, crossing his arms and groaning.
Hey, what do you think we should do? She's probably gonna show up at the university again, isn't she?
Maybe. There's no need to meet her. We're supposed to have nothing to do with her anymore. But still. Dad frowned, tilting his head.
Why would she come near Meg now, after all this time? What do you mean?
Dad didn't answer that. A little while later, Susan came back home.
Welcome back. I'm home. All my favorites, thank you.
That's what I love about Susan. She never skimps on her words of gratitude and always brings brightness and cheer. Her job is really demanding. She leaves early in the morning and often comes back late at night. She might even be busier than the average dad. I'm not sure if it's because of that or if she's being considerate of me, but Susan never tried to have another child after me. I once asked her lightly about it, and she replied,
Actually, really, I'm just too busy to even think about it. And as far as I'm concerned, Meg is my only daughter.
Still, I can't believe she never wanted a child with the person she loves. But I respect and am grateful for Susan, including for this aspect. And I want her to be happy forever. Luckily, she's still 40. Having one child could be possible. It might even be nice for them to have a child between them after I go to college or become independent. After all, we have a very skilled stay-at-home dad. From that night on, my phone was incessantly ringing with calls from an unknown number.
Dad, this.
Showing him the call history, Dad hurriedly pulled out an old address book. It must be a number not registered in his current phone. Flipping through the book, he eventually made a very displeased face and let out a big sigh.
So, it was her. How on earth did she find out Meg's number? I don't know. She hasn't changed her number all this time, has she? It seems so. Well, she never liked to make things complicated.
Then Susan, fresh out of the bath and drying her hair, asked us what was going on.
You both seem pretty serious.
What do we do? Dad signaled with his eyes. I nodded. Mom, actually today, right in front of the university, she ambushed me. Came to see me.
What? Are you okay? She didn't do anything to you?
Dropping her towel, Susan immediately showed concern for me.
I'm fine, nothing happened. Just that I have to go back another day for the dorm and apartment info since that got postponed.
Oh dear. I wish I could have gone with you. Susan sighed deeply.
Next time, you're coming with me, okay?
Yeah, we'll take care of the dorm stuff then too. Maybe Monday since we have the weekend in between. Right, Susan said, then fell silent, thinking. You'll catch a cold, Dad said as he picked up the towel, dried her hair, and even went as far as to blow dry it. Watching the two of them, I think to myself, what a great couple they are. I want to keep this family just the way it is forever. That's why the sudden reappearance of Kelly frightens me, wondering what she's up to. After spending the entire weekend at home, on Monday, Dad and I decided to head back to the university to complete the procedures. We walked leisurely to the station. The university is a few stations away from the nearest one. We walked side by side, chatting about what the dorm might be like or how much an apartment would cost. But suddenly, I felt my body lose balance.
Meg!
Dad yelled. I was grabbed by my right arm and dragged into a taxi. Driver, get going quickly. A familiar voice hit my ears. It's Kelly. I could see my dad's panicked figure through the window, but the taxi started moving before he could open the door.
What on earth are you doing?
By the time I managed to get myself together, I yelled as loud as I could.
Because you kept ignoring my calls. Who answers calls from unknown numbers these days?
That's why I came to see you in person. Kelly's determined eyes made me flinch as she moved closer.
Can't you just come with me without saying anything? No.
So formal. I'm your mother, aren't I? I scoffed at that.
What's with that attitude?
Do you really think you're a mother to me? I chose my words carefully. Loud enough for the previous driver to hear.
Because I gave birth to you, you are my daughter.
I don't remember you raising me. And what's with this approach? To be blunt, this is kidnapping, isn't it?
Don't say such terrible things.
With that, Kelly slapped my cheek so hard it made a sound. Deep down, I think to myself, good, keep it going. Eventually, the taxi arrived at a somewhat dingy 3-story building.
What is this place?
It's my company, Kelly answered. Surprised? I'm a CEO's wife and hit the jackpot. You guys still at the bottom, poor? That's why I thought I'd share some with you. So, she really is trying to use me, I thought. She led me into the building and pushed me into a room right next to us, locking the door. I was banging on the door, yelling, "What are you doing?" to Kelly outside. Just wait here a bit, please. What in the world is she talking about? I pulled out my phone from my pocket and immediately sent a message to my dad saying, "I'm here right now." I sent a screenshot of my current location on the map and also took photos of the view from the room's window to send. Then I quickly got a reply. Just stay put, I'll figure something out. Of course, that was my plan. Soon, Kelly unlocked the door and led me out. Holding onto my arm, she took me up the stairs to a room around the middle of the second floor. Voices of several people could be heard from inside. Kelly opened the door with a loud bang. And as expected, there were several people inside. Apparently in the middle of a meeting.
What is this? We're in a meeting right now.
The youngest-looking person with glasses stood up and approached us. Kelly also pulled me into the room.
It's not just something, Tom. I was his wife, so I have the right to participate in meetings deciding the company's future direction. You weren't invited. Oh, that's no way to talk to your stepmother, is it?
I see. So this glasses-wearing Tom is the CEO's son. But the whiteboard had something like next business strategy written on it. And the CEO himself is not here, which means
you're just the woman who married my dad after my mom passed away. And you had an affair with him even when my mom was around. What stepmother? That's right. Everything about the company's future should have been discussed right after the funeral. Kelly, what are you doing here all of a sudden? Oh, getting all high and mighty just because you used to be my boss.
Then, for some reason, Kelly pushed me forward.
Hey Tom. Your stepsister here is struggling with college tuition. Wouldn't it be nice if you could help out a little with the fees? What?
I was taken aback by that suggestion. Was I brought here for that?
Tuition, you say?
Tom's tone shifted slightly. Yes.
This child is my biological daughter. She's 18 and just started college. Living a poor life with her sick father. Hey, if you feel like helping her out a bit, couldn't you give me a little more of that man's fortune?
I looked at Tom's face. The troubled atmosphere was easily noticeable. I see, it's up to me to speak up.
What are you talking about? I haven't heard anything. What are you saying?
Because that's true, isn't it? Suddenly brought here. Suddenly? Tom latched onto my words. Yes, suddenly.
I was supposed to go with my dad to deal with dorm procedures, not university enrollment. So, the university enrollment is finished. And the tuition? Yes, all taken care of.
Tom glared at Kelly with a sharp look. Kelly seemed perplexed, going, as if something was amiss. Tom continued to question me.
So how did you end up here, exactly? By taxi. I have no business here. I was forcefully brought by this person. Be quiet.
Then Kelly slapped my other cheek. What strength? It stings. Does the word restraint not exist in this person's vocabulary? Anyway, I thought to stall for time. The message I sent to my dad, and probably Susan too, will prompt them to take some action. Until then, I need to draw as much information as possible from these people.
I see, you really don't know anything.
Tom began.
I'm the son of the previous CEO of this company. Officially, I'm going to be the president from this term. So, you're saying you're my stepsister? No, I don't feel that way at all.
I said clearly.
I was abandoned by this person along with my sick father when I was just 3.
Then I felt the atmosphere around us turn cold. Of course, all their gazes were directed at Kelly. How shallow can this person be thinking? Does she think I'm still the 3-year-old she left behind? That now, as a college student, I'd be scared and comply with whatever she says? It's as if the past 15 years never existed for her.
I remember very well. You called us once, didn't you? What you said then? What did I say? The same thing you said to me earlier. Laughing while saying you married into wealth as a CEO's wife and that we were the bottom, poor people.
The people in the room backed away from her all at once.
You said that? When was this? Considering she mentioned marrying into wealth, it must have been after she remarried. I had no idea about any of this. Let's see, about 10 years ago? So, you were still in elementary school back then? You were told such terrible things at such a young age?
Yes, I nodded. But by then, her words didn't matter much to me anymore. Just then, people came running into the company's building.
Meg! Are you okay? Meg, are you alright? Where are you?
I heard my dad and Susan shouting loudly, followed by several footsteps. I stuck my head out into the hallway and yelled back, "Over here. Dad, Mom." Following my voice, they ran up the stairs and through the hallway.
Meg!
With a click, the two of them opened the door.
You're safe. Meg. I'm so glad.
Saying this, Susan hugged me tightly.
Yeah, you had me worried. I'm okay. Got slapped twice, though.
Twice, huh? Someone behind my parents stared intently at my face and aimed their camera at me.
Let me take a photo.
Please, go ahead, I posed, showing my face clearly. The slap from Kelly really hurt. And I wanted to make sure it was documented as evidence.
Who are you people?
Kelly yelled, pointing at my parents. Oh, forgotten the face of the husband you divorced 15 years ago?
Michael? You're Michael? What's with that healthy look?
Is there a problem with looking healthy? Ah, I see. She couldn't immediately understand I was with my dad because of that. It seems she really thought my dad was still bedridden and sick.
You said it was an incurable disease.
He hasn't been cured. It's just that life goes on even without a cure. Ever heard of remission?
Remission?
She seemed not to know. Remission means symptoms are lessened or gone temporarily. There might be a chance of healing, but there's also a high risk of relapse. So, it's not that he was cured. We always have to be careful about his health, taking multiple medications regularly, and continue visiting the hospital. So, saying it's an incurable disease isn't a lie. Susan snapped back at Kelly. What do you mean? You of all people. What did you do to my daughter? Her cheek. My own daughter. It doesn't matter what I do, does it? I couldn't stay silent at that point.
No, she's the only mother I acknowledge. She has spent 3 times as many years by my side, creating a warm home, than the time you claim to have raised me. So what? You're saying you prefer to live in poverty with this sick person?
Hearing Kelly's words, my dad laughed heartily.
Hey Kelly, let me introduce you to a family with a company worth $10 billion a year.
Yes.
Let me introduce myself again, Kelly. I'm Susan, his wife. I heard about you leaving him and a 3-year-old Meg to become someone else's mistress. It turns out you're exactly as unreasonable as I pictured.
Then Tom chimed in, that's an interesting story. I'd like to hear more about it.
By the way, Susan, remembering the $10 billion annual revenue, could you be the president of TL Corporation?
Yes, that's correct. We should have business dealings with you. Susan smiled brightly at everyone but Kelly. So busily has been tasked with the significant role of company president since her 20s. She met my dad when the weight of her sudden responsibilities overwhelmed her, causing her body and mind to cry out in protest, leading to her hospitalization. Susan was born as the only daughter to the founder's family. However, she lost her parents in an accident at a young age and took over the presidency at just 25, struggling immensely with the huge expectations and her inability to meet them. During her hospital stay for severe stress-induced gastritis, aiming for remission, she met my dad and me. I heard that my dad told her then that it's important to entrust unbearable tasks to someone trustworthy. That seemed to have lifted a huge burden off Susan's shoulders. Then, amidst the meddling of relatives pushing for marriage, she found comfort and natural ease with my dad, deciding to marry him.
You seemed quite pleased with yourself, becoming the CEO's wife after his previous wife passed away, but my current wife is the CEO herself.
That's right. Tom agreed. TL Corporation handles all the specialized cleaning required by departments related to our company. And this person is the president of that company. Anyone with even a slight interest in the economy should recognize her. Kelly was dumbfounded by Tom's words. Yes, that's right. We perform a wide range of cleaning services, from ordinary cleaning to specialized tasks. I believe we've been dealing with your company since my father's time, but it seems we need to reconsider that contract now. Susan looked around with a determined expression. Right? A company that harbors someone capable of kidnapping our daughter should have its contract terminated. It's simply not trustworthy. The executives present began to rise in alarm. Please, reconsider. Without your company's cooperation, our business wouldn't be sustainable. Really? Is that so? Kelly looked puzzled. Kelly, you didn't know that? And yet you tried to stop me from becoming president and even tried to draw money? Ignorance has its limits. In this company, your presence has only been harmful. Right, everyone? Absolutely. Yes, indeed. The company executives voiced their agreement. Really? Saying such things? Whatever money your father left you in his will, it was given long ago. What did you do with that money? Trying to extort like this, have you squandered it all? Or was there already debt? Tom pressed further. Then Susan interjected, maybe she spent it on something? Right, I had the lawyers investigate urgently because our daughter was approached by a suspicious person 2 days ago. 2 days. Right, the weekend. And then the company lawyer nodded. At the president's request, we did a bit of research on her, and it turns out she's been contributing quite a bit to nightclubs for a long time. And perhaps the collection calls are because of overdue payments? So, she was doing that. Interesting. I looked at Kelly with as much disdain as I could muster. Thank you for looking into it. Not at all. Having someone so problematic associated with our business partner is indeed a serious issue. Indeed, anything harmful to the company should be dealt with as soon as possible. Tom said, and our lawyer nodded emphatically. Then, a group of men entered from behind. Kelly Norman, you are under arrest for kidnapping. The men, flashing their police badges, stepped in and handcuffed Kelly. What? I just took my daughter. After we divorced ages ago, and you dumped parental rights on me, right? At that point, you became a stranger. And I don't remember getting any child support from you. So what rights are you talking about as a mother? I added, clearly annoyed. How could you not realize how wrong it is to abduct me in front of my dad in a taxi? Insolent child. I don't mind being insolent if it means getting my point across. I just wanted to say this. I glared at Kelly. I didn't even want to think about you. Just disappear from my life and never show your face again. Kelly froze at my words. Then the police pushed her body, taking her outside. Kelly has been formally arrested for the kidnapping and is currently under investigation. Such a sloppy crime. Not noticing my dad nearby was one thing, but the act of suddenly dragging me into a taxi was the biggest mistake. Inside the car, I deliberately spoke loudly and clearly, showing I was taken against my will and had no feelings towards my mother. I wanted the driver to hear how much I disliked what was happening. Sure enough, the suspicious driver relayed our conversation over the radio. And the taxi company recorded the suspicious activity. Kelly not confiscating my smartphone was incredibly foolish. With today's smartphones, it's easy to share your location and send a map image. Well, I learned such crisis management tips from Susan. She had been taught at home how to pinpoint her location in case of emergency. Turns out, the money Kelly squandered was indeed substantial, and the company is demanding its return. A criminal trial for the kidnapping charges is upcoming, and it's almost certain she'll end up behind bars. We have no intention of showing mercy, whatever her lawyers might say. Kelly should come to fully understand her own folly. Smile, smile. On the day of my college entrance ceremony, my dad and I were taking photos under a cherry blossom tree.
Next with me.
Saying that, Susan handed the camera to my dad and swapped places with him.
See, you two really complement those cherry blossoms.
Dad said something that almost seemed too sweet. Probably because of the spring weather. But we won't be able to see each other for a while now. Saying that, Susan teared up a bit. Dad patted her shoulder comfortingly. Facing them, I said,
Hey, I have a request. Oh? What is it? I really want a brother or sister this time.
At that, both blushed, as if to say,
Now, of all times. No, but seriously, Mom's only 40. She's definitely still in the age range for having kids. Now that I'm an adult, couldn't you two live just the two of you for a while and give me a sibling to see? Don't say such things.
Susan hugged me.
You're my one and only daughter. That's true, but Mom, you're so full of love, you must be lonely without me. Oh dear, that's why I should have insisted on a closer school.
That's impossible, I said and laughed. Really, wanting to see a sibling or worrying about loneliness was just a pretext. Susan is currently at the top of the company. But I don't think I should be the one to take over after her. Dad agrees with this. After all, I'm just my father's stepchild, not Susan's biological child. Even if my mom treats me as her own child, the people around us might not accept it. Especially since this company is an established mid-tier firm with a long history. There's a tradition of family management in a good sense. She must be aware of this. After thinking quietly for a while, Susan eventually nodded significantly.
All right. Maybe I'll try a little bit.
She laughed hesitantly and a bit shyly, which is unlike her. No matter which way things turn, we remain a family. We've managed well so far. And surely, we'll continue to get along well together.